In this video today, I'm going to go ahead and prune one of my pear trees. This one is actually not in bad shape. It's been pruned fairly well the last few years, and as you can see, there's actually probably not much to prune today. But things like this definitely need to be pruned out, and then branches that are touching each other need to be also cleaned up a bit so that less chance for disease. So I'll be doing a bit of pruning to thin it out. So, having a look at the tree in general, and like I said, looking for branches that are touching to sort of clean them up a little bit. And I'll get a little bit closer here because this branch is actually broken. Can you see? So, we'll just cut that branch off because that can be a place where disease could start. So I'm just cutting it above that bud that you see poking out to the left. And then there's other ones where, like I said, they're touching. So just cutting it off just to sort of keep the inside fairly open. And then there's this one too, which is kind of sticking up in the middle. I rather have the branches kind of go outwards. We don't need too many branches on the inside. And also looking for any branches that are dead. Some can just be broken off, others need to be cut. And again, here's a branch that's going up from the very middle of the tree, and that's not going to do too much. So I might as well cut them off and focus on the branches on the outside. So there's another one. See, that's kind of touching. It's not really doing much there, so I'll cut it off. We may lose a few pairs, but that's okay. So I'm going to continue cutting here, and again, what I'm looking at now is actually trying to keep the height of the tree down. We're in a urban backyard, not much room. You see my fig trees in the back there, and those need to be heavily cut too. But basically I'm just trying to keep the height of the tree down. This is actually anyways a dwarf pear tree, so I want to keep the height down so that it's not only not taking up too much space, but it's easier to pick the pears, it's easier to prune every year, and just in general to keep the size of the tree to a manageable height. And here I'm just making sure I don't step into my pond, which is just behind the tree, and continuing to prune off branches that are sticking up and trying to focus most of the growth and the fruit towards the bottom of the tree. And yes, you can prune too much off, so the general rule of thumb is don't prune more than 1/3 of the actual length or the height of the tree. So again, I'm also looking for the kind of water shoots that are just sticking up. They usually won't produce any fruit anyways, so it's just a matter of going around. I find it actually quite relaxing. Sunny day as well, so that makes it a bonus. Just makes filming a little bit harder, of course. And I'm just letting the branches fall on the ground, and then we'll pick them up later for shredding. And as you can see, continuing to get the height down as much as I can, and just keep going around the tree. Luckily this tree is fairly easy to access. Some of my other trees are a little bit harder to access, but this one in particular is the easiest one. And just having another look around, looking for dead, diseased branches, anything that the tree doesn't need. And also looking for, of course, the dead ones. Dead ones are fairly easy to find. Usually they're a different color, they're kind of a darker gray, sometimes a lighter gray, depends. And usually you can tell if you bend them and they break off, then they're definitely dead. So continuing on, and I'm actually right now just removing some dried leaves that are still on the tree from the fall, and that's all just to make sure that there's not a place for bugs to nest in or moisture to accumulate. And just keep going around the tree. Trim, trim, trim. And let's have a look, a little closer look here at this branch in particular. This one is dead. It may look like it may have some buds on it, but you can see I can just snap it off. And it's kind of got a little bit of a black tinge to it as well. So again, the best thing to do here is to actually just cut it off completely, right down to where, right there. There's actually a bud there on that little branch, so I'll keep that branch. And it's important to use sharp pruners. Make sure your pruners are also clean. Sometimes it's a good idea to actually clean your pruners between trees. But now you can see that I've trimmed the height of it. Everything looks fairly open, and we got lots of buds on there. And hopefully we'll have a good pear harvest this year. Last year's harvest was not that great. I'm going to leave that little stump there. Ideally, probably better to cut it off, but I'll just leave it there. I think it'll be fine. And I'm just double checking. You can see some lichen on the tree, and that's just because of our wet winters. That's fine. It doesn't affect the tree at all. And again, breaking off some of those dead ones. And I'm pretty well thinking that's about it. Doesn't need to be perfect. So I hope that gives you an idea of how to prune a tree and to clean it up a bit. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.